Alphabet may have a CEO crisis. As a result of its restructuring plan back in August, Google parent company Alphabet has assigned CEO roles to each of its ventures. That includes YouTube, Calico, GV, formerly Google Ventures, and Access and Energy, which oversees the Google Fiber project. Now the leaders of units like Boston Dynamics, Nest, and Verily, Alphabet's life sciences company, are under scrutiny as the struggles of running these companies are coming into the spotlight. Joining us right now is former Medtronic chairman and CEO and CNBC contributor Bill George, along with Jeff Sonnenfeld, CNBC contributor and senior associate dean for leadership studies over at Yale. Great to see you both. Bill, there's a pretty, lengthy account of what's happened with each of these Google companies that feel as though they're not getting perhaps the resources they need, that their growth prospects are being choked off here. Do you see a sort of systematic problem and one that is kind of the way Google is trying to go, or Alphabet, and being better for investors, or one that's ultimately going to damage shareholders here?
Well, Kelly, when Google put this Alphabet structure in place, I applauded it because its biggest challenge is to find some more oil wells like they found in Search to continue to sustain their growth. But the question is, they're putting together this kind of team of racehorses. Can Larry Page guide and direct them and keep them under control? And he's got a group of mavericks, and they're not all going to work out. But I can say, I think Google and every one of these ventures got to decide, what's the unique capability we bring to this party that makes it special? Or is it something we want to spin off? They're likely looking at the robotics business right now.
Right.
And where can we, and how do we, what parameters do we put on them so we keep them in check but give them their freedom? This is a tough leadership call. This is not easy. And I think it's going to take, he's going to have some more dust-ups like this before it's over. But I still applaud the model. And I think a lot of these things are very exciting, and they're going to have to see, can they prove it out? And as one of the most senior Google executives told me, the jury's still out on how this is all going to work. But I think it's a noble experiment.
Jeff, what do you think? I mean, I know you think this is just growing pains for the most part, but should they give a little more autonomy to each of the CEOs that they're assigning to these divisions?
Bill, you read me exactly right. I don't want to disappoint you with any Harvard-Yale collusion here, but as I read what Bill George just said, it sounded like he was about 80-20 positive, and I think I'm about 90-10 positive on this. I think you're right. There are some growing pains. But one of the life stage dynamics is the life stages of founders. And we have just seen, as we look at Pandora today, with a founder returning. We've seen in recent months with Jack Dorsey, with Twitter, founder returning, trying to play off the model of Michael Dell or Howard Schultz or the late Steve Jobs, is that sometimes business, they leave and come back. In this case, it's more of an ambassadorial model rather than a general who returns to battle, is they want to stay a part of the business, but give them a chance for some new opportunities for growth for the CEO without holding the business back, the core business back. However, the new businesses have their own life stages, and that's what Bill George was just referring to. And the challenge there is, what is their model? You remember we had those internet incubators of CMGI and a lot of those that blew up because there was too much of this. And then you have these conglomerates. We just had a story on about Warren Buffett, of course, and Berkshire Hathaway, but Textron or some of the others, that Tyco that went too far, is that those were mature businesses. So what's the model here? And that's the challenge. And when you have a place like Xerox is that Sergey Brin, they have to be a judge. There has to be somebody to decide, not just to be ambassadorial.
Jeff?
Go ahead, Bill.
Jeff, I think that's a very good point. They got to decide what their unique expertise. For instance, they did a fabulous job in optical lenses and wound up selling it to Novartis. Okay, they got monetized the technology. Do they want to be in self-driving cars? Do they want to control the software? And what about moonshots? What role are they going to play? And I think Larry's got to decide. This is a real test for Larry's leadership. I have a lot of confidence in what he can do, but how does he keep this stable of resources all in the same track?
He sees himself as recruiter-in-chief, and I think you've nailed it, Bill. He has to be more than recruiter-in-chief. He has to somehow make more than ambassadorial decisions. They have to figure out where they invest. And you look at Project Loon, that's going extremely well, too, bringing internet to half the world.
I was just going to say, though, it seems like in a way this is evolving as a trade-off, at least on the surface, between Alphabet trying to give investors more clarity, guys, over what these different divisions are up to and what they're doing, and these divisions themselves feeling like their wings are being clipped as a result. Is that wrong, Bill? I mean, does that tension have to exist?
No, that tension definitely exists. The issue here is they're operating in a goldfish bowl. We did something very similar at Medtronic. We created a whole series of new ventures, but we didn't give quite as much visibility as Google has. And we let people go, and frankly, half of them failed, and we had a few grand slam home runs in there that they were just fantastic. And so you have to have a high tolerance for failure, which I think Google has. But at the same time, you can't just let them go off running on their own and spending billions of dollars without some form of corporate oversight and constraint. And that's Larry's job right now.
We're more used to that university world.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. We said this morning.
You sure are. We are.
When we talked about this story this morning, we said, wouldn't it be great if we could get either Bill George or Jeff Sonnenfeld on to talk about it? And they both said yes. We had an embarrassment of riches today. Thanks, guys, as always.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you, guys.